Welcome back to another episode of Group Chat, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Leonardo the Durag. Oh, where my Durag at? It's back. I got my brother Trey Deuce here and two very special guests.
I'm Jason Johnson, owner, founder of One of Us Inc., partner at Wildflower.
OG in the city. OG in the city.
Do we meet him at Wildflower?
I don't remember. He's one of those guys I don't remember where I met him.
I
Just
know,
like we
I
had a connection.
I know. But we've always known, I've always known of you guys through mutual friends and, being around the city. You always see the same faces, but you never know, how you know somebody. It's crazy because I see this girl every now and then, walking on the street. I don't really know her name. Then I saw her on a flight in Jamaica, and I saw her in Jamaica, and I came back to Toronto, I saw her, and I was like, yo, who are you? What's her name? I had to get her name. So she told me her name. I was like, it's crazy because you always see people but never know exactly where you meet them. Toronto's small, right? It's really, really small. I mean, and doing the events and curating all of those stuff, you always see people. I always see people in the scope of what I do all the time, So I have a good recollection of faces, but I'm shitty at names, right?
Names too.
Before
I move on, we have another very special guest who's doing some great, great things. Do you want to introduce yourself?
True. I was just talking about that. I was excited, man. I was excited.
I'm here too. So I'm Umbereen, and I am an artistic producer, sort of artistic director. I work on Nuit Blanche Toronto. Been there for 10 years. My last project I worked on, Death of the Sun, you might have seen with our boy Drizzy Drake on his epic tour. So I'm a kind of a cultural conduit. I try and find opportunities to tell stories and inspire people on a massive scale. That's what I do.
That sun was massive.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't the biggest one. The one that we produced for Nuit Blanche was 45-foot diameter. The one that we had for Drake was about 32 feet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a little smaller, but it was still strong. It was still powerful.
That's great. How does one come up? Where do you start with that? How do you come up with that? You know what I mean? I feel like often when I'm Trey, I do videos, if you guys didn't know. When people ask me, how do I come up with my ideas, it's I feel like I give them such a basic answer, and I just say, yo, just talking to people and just living my life, and I'll say, oh, that's kind of funny. But, how do you start with something like that?
Well, a couple of things. One, I really believe with power comes responsibility. I have a pretty big platform with Nuit Blanche, and I was looking for somebody who could tell a story that normally wouldn't have been asked. So one of those people was Director X, and it was just an idea that just flew into my head. Those are the ideas you gotta follow, especially when you're in the shower and everything's sort of calm. Anyways, so idea flew into my head about X, and I sort of floated around the office. I was like, what do you guys think about X? As we were thinking about music video directors and movie directors, because Nuit Blanche is an event where it's done in 12 hours. And then you sort of are sitting there going, this sucks. I miss you. I miss this epic thing. And somebody said to me, because I produced an exhibition with JR in 2015. I don't know if you guys know JR. He's this epic artist. He does a lot of this stuff about portraiture, black and white, with Pharrell. Phenom. Anyways, he had come and left, and I was just feeling really empty. And my friends were like, yeah, because it's like you're on a movie set. Nuit is you come together, you have this emotional roller coaster, and then it's gone. Yeah. So fast forward, we were thinking about movie sets and music video directors, and I was like, what about Director X? And people were like, yeah. So I let that simmer, and I happened to be at a party. This is where Kismet comes in, that I wasn't supposed to be at. It was my girl's girl and the chef, Adrian. He was catering.
Adrian Forte.
Yes. Crazy.
Shout out to Adrian Forte.
Yeah, we're supposed to be there on Saturday for his
he's opening a new restaurant.
So he was catering that party, and his girl was sitting there, and I loved her look, and I was like, she looks arty. I'm just gonna talk to her. So we just hit it off, and I said to her again, idea flies in my head. Do you know a guy named X? And she goes, yeah, I do. And then I said, do you think he'd be interested in doing contemporary visual art? That's not really what he does. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I do. So literally 3 days later, Taj, shout out to Taj, he's amazing. He was X's manager, was in our office at City Hall. And the reason why I wanted to work with X was because he's already great. He can already do fantastic mastermind thinking, storytelling, delivering on epic scales. But I was going through his Instagram, and I was like, yo, this guy is talking about gun violence. This guy is talking about energy and Aragon and science and climate change. And I was like, he has a lot of depth to him. And contemporary art has a lot of depth. So I was like, let's see if he's interested in exploring. I didn't want to sort of approach somebody assuming they wouldn't want to do something. In fact, I like to do the opposite because I kind of like people who are dark and complex. I think that's where a lot of good art is made. And X was fearless. So Todd shows up in our office, and we hit it off really well. And basically, we met up with X, which was supposed to be for an hour dinner at the Drake. Again, another Kismet thing. Our first time meeting. We ended up talking for 4 hours. I just sort of broke it down to him and was like, look, I'm not what you think I am. I'm like from Scarborough, I'm from the hood. My parents, worked in factories and all these things. And I have basically, I'm self-made. And I got at City Hall doing this job because I basically told them that I understand the heart behind art. And then I understand the artists are telling a story. And I may not be from the gallery world, but I understand that artists are using art as a tool to express themselves, and it actually knows no boundaries, which is how I thought about music, right? Music knows no boundaries too. So I'm like, let's pair the two together. Long story short, X was 100% interested right away. And that's how the seed got planted, and we worked together, like back and forth and back and forth. This is where like the artistic direction and sort of that work comes in with me, because X is a big thinker, right? He wanted to do like a huge solar system like all over the city, and I was like, okay, I love that, but where is the depth? Like, why? You got to keep asking yourself why. Why is there a solar system? And then he was like, well, because I want people to see how small we are in comparison to this world. And I was like, okay, why? And I just sort of pushed him, and X and I had a number of fun arguments in his office, but he's one of my best friends, and I love him because
X's such a passionate guy.
He's so
I can't imagine
passionate.
passionate.
He followed that thought. I was like, why is it important for us to think about our relationship to the universe? And he was like, because we're killing ourselves right now. I said, there you go. That's what we have to figure out. So I was like, let's look at it bare bones. What's the most important thing to you? And he was like, well, what if I could just do a sun? I said, okay, what is it about the sun? And then he was like, well, we need to see ourselves in perspective. Okay, what if that sun were to be taken away? Right then and there, X was like, death of the sun. I was like, that's the art. That's the art. Right?
Wow.
So, we went on this trail, and I dug deep, and X and I trusted each other, and that's where I was like, look, I've got nothing to gain from you. I'm just here to help, and I feel like you have that story in you to tell.
Yeah.
And I swear to you, he committed to it, and 1,000% is from his heart and soul, and I'm so proud of him, because what he did with us, like, we were like, okay, we're gonna engineer this thing and make it big and like have a 360 projection, and he was right there. And I was like, what about Van Gogh? Because if you look at the sun, it's got this sort of painterly quality. So I was showing Axe, like, look at classic art, what inspires you, and he's very much inspired by classic artists. So we pulled elements of Van Gogh, and that's why you see like that swirling pattern. He'd be like, we gotta work on the nebula. I'm like, okay. So I love that he was so committed, and so long story short, it ended up being one of the most successful projects we've ever done in the history of our event, with over 1 million people just lying there experiencing that artwork. And I loved it because we challenged so many stereotypes, right? When the hell do you see a hip-hop video music director making contemporary art that crosses the boundary into the gallery world? And he did it, and he did it. And even in terms of the soundtrack, he was like hours and hours spending listening to like different theta waves. Like, basically we're all vibration, we're all sound when you break this down. And so him and I spent time just listening to different frequencies. We were like freaks. Like, you'd walk into our Texas office and all you hear is
And I got sound too.
But he scored that with stuff like with other artists, and he was like, no, like this is something I've been waiting to do. So, X had showed it to Drake, and fast forward a couple months, and basically, I was lying there, and X was like, you got to go to Amsterdam. I'm like, why? He's like, Drake wants to take it on tour, and I was like, what? Okay, gotta go. So basically, we're lucky that Drake is just as much of a visionary, deep, soulful thinker that supports art, visual art, and City of Toronto, and we're very lucky to have this opportunity to showcase X's work on Drake's platform.
Just hearing you explain, it's just like, it's so interesting, because like, you guys didn't settle for like, okay, this is it, let's just do it and get it done with. It was just like, why, and got deeper into it. Like, how long did that whole thing like
it's a
come
good
up
question with? It's a good question. I would say about 6 months. And that's also because X launched Hotline Bling and X was traveling, so his career was skyrocketing. But I have a psych background, you know, I'm a trained therapist, so that's sort of where I push artists to dig deep. So I bring in psychology into producing contemporary art, you know, and people like X that are open to it come on that journey with me. And I think that's where real art is made. So I would say, look, over a series of like 4 really long sessions in his studio over the course of like 4 to 6 months. But every time we talked, no matter where he was, you know, whether it's on a mountain in Africa or like in LA, he was committed and he was open to me always saying, what about this? What about that? You know, what is it going to feel like? Because that was my whole thing, right? I want people to feel art, you know, whether you like it or not. For me, if I'm going to produce an artwork with you, I want you to be touched somehow. And so I'm always thinking about, like, how are you going to feel it? You know, whether you understand it or you hate it or you love it, I want you to walk it and be struck by it. So that's the sort of tone we were going for, and that's what we played with for months and months. What is it going to feel like? And you know, people said to us, watch, there's going to be people lying down, not being able to walk away from that sign, and that's exactly what happened. Like, we had to be like, excuse me. We had like makeouts where people were just holding on to each other, but they were feeling that artwork. And yeah, it took about 4 months, but I think as long as an artist is willing and open, you can do that stuff in a couple of hours. You know, you just have to come with, you know, with an open heart and open mind and be willing to sort of go on that journey with me, and I'll pull out the story. And then my job is to translate that onto the ground.
Like our videos, like sometimes it'll take, I don't know, like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks to come up with a video and like get it all together. And I know how much time and effort can go into video, but then that feeling of when we actually pull it off and then we see the reaction from our friends and people watching out there, it's just like, it's almost like it's something I can't explain, but like that, something where you guys took like 6 months to come up with and have it there, but then see the reaction like right in front of your eyes and then see it on tour. Like, how was that?
It's so rewarding.
Yeah, like how was that?
I still think she gets excited every day.
Every day. I'm like tearing up all the time, and I see X across the room. And we'll be like, oh, it's words can't describe it. And I think that's what Drake said as well when I was like, are you happy? And he's like, words just can't describe it. It's overwhelming. Like, nobody knew the response that City Hall was going to have, let alone the tour was going to have, right? Where, you know, it just moved so many people. And I think the fact that people can't walk away from it, you know, they can't turn away from it. It's being photographed. I think it was one of the most photographed project we've ever done in the course of, you know, 1 million people times 10 years. It just shows how powerful it is. So I think the fact that we've moved people is what shows me that we did a good job.
Definitely. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
You mentioned earlier that art wasn't always your background. You said you come from Scarborough, your parents worked in factories. How important was networking for you to make it?
Networking is huge. I think because it shows support. I don't like bullshit. I don't like to just call somebody up to ask them for something ever. I hate when people do that after me. I don't like to met people. So if I can show my face, that's what I call it. Show your face. If I'm going to show up to your event, I'm going to show my face to be like, look, I got you. I'm here. I don't have to stay for long, but I want you to know that I support you. And I'm watching you. You know, and I think that's key, because ultimately for me, relationships have to be based on trust. So networking, I don't even call it that. I call it relationship building. And things just trickle down. Like him and I, you know, we met through my realtor, you know. But I was watching what you were doing, and I saw that you are a mover and shaker in the city, and I just kept sort of showing up and sort of saying, look, I want to build with you. So I think it's relationship building, and actually I spent a lot of time partying with X, not because of just, you know, trying to pop bottles, but to show that I'm going to come to where you're at.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, it's not just about being in like corporate buildings, and that's where real art is made.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, you know, like I agree what you said. It's rapport and relationship building. That's very, very important, because you get to a certain point where people are manipulative and strategic without you even knowing, and it really comes down to trust. I have to be able to say, you know, you got my back, as a friend, not like somebody wants to gain something from me, you know?
No.
That's really important to like really connect with the person, take time to understand who they are, what their goals and desires are, and how you guys could build together. I believe in synergy. I believe in, you know, aiding somebody to achieve their goals by leveraging what I have in my network, but it has to come by trust. I have to feel like you're not gonna fuck it up, like, sorry for the swearing, you're not gonna mess it up when you do get that opportunity, right?
I always knew like how important networking was, but especially being from like the city where it's like someone can walk by you and you don't know that guy has like the keys to like your like life, if you want to say, you know what I mean? So how important was it for you like when you were kind of coming up? Because when I say he's a Toronto OG, guys, come on, like I'm serious about it. It's like Toronto OG here. Like how important was like networking for you to build that relationship with people?
I think early on, we understood that, like when I was growing up, it was an era where Toronto was very like secular. It was very like cliquey. And we understood early on that we either had to get to know these individuals to break down those walls, or like go and develop new relationships that are outside of those. So we spent the time to, and when I say we, it's like me, Aubrey, which is Drake, and our boy at the time, to go out there and be a present, show that we're committed to what we're doing, show that we're here to support whoever we felt was next or doing what we wanted to accomplish. And we learned early on, man, it was so vital and so important because a lot of these things happen by meeting people, sitting down with them, connecting with them, sitting with your friends and saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve, how could you help me, who could help me, and then going from there. Because you know, your dreams can really come alive when people are assisting you and they have a mutual benefit to gain and achieve from it as well. So it's very, very important. Everything I do is about networking. Like, you know, I throw events, and like Umbereen said, we're essentially conduit of the culture. Like, we have to bring people together, and we also have to be present where they are to show support. So it's super important, man.
Because I feel like I talked to a couple people that were like huge on Instagram, but I feel like they didn't know how to talk. And I feel like it's because they were behind social media, they were behind their phone, and it was just like every time I try and have a conversation with them, it was just like it was kind of like dead, and I'm just like.
That's what you're seeing with social media. It's like this digital presence doesn't really connect you. Like, it connects you, but it doesn't. Like, to have the one-on-one where you're discussing with people, where you're talking to them, where you're getting to know them on a personal level, doesn't exist anymore because everything's digital. So you're creating the narrative online, but in reality, it may not match up with who you are. So when people do meet you, you could separate the real from the fakes. And I think the digital online presence, if that's just only what you're about, like, people will see that early on and say, okay, well, you're not the guy, you're not legit, you're not serious about this. And you know, it's important to still pick up the phone, to go to these places, meet people, like everything. Like, even when we did our event, what the marketing campaign was called Online Offline, and everything's so digitized that we forget that, like, picking up a piece of flyer or picking up like or seeing something in person, it's not there anymore. And people that do tap into that, like, are seeing success. Because when we did our event, we spray painted the floor with like with the party like logo, and you know, when people were hitting me up, I was like, oh, I saw this on the floor, this is crazy. So it gave them a new engagement with it because now it was real. They saw it online and then they saw it in real life and something they could touch. They were like, oh, that's amazing. So I think it's important for, if you're gonna network, as so we call it, to exist offline as well, because that's important, to be face to face with a person, to say, hey, I'm real, like, this is my struggle, this is my background, this is what I want to do, is very important, right?
How like important do you guys feel like it is to disconnect from like online? So like, even when you're taking on a project like Death of the Sun, like, how important do you feel it is to like, okay, put social media down and like just kind of lock off that world for a second?
Don't get it twisted, man. Like, social media is super important. It's great. But just because you have 300 likes or 400 likes on a photo doesn't equate to 400 people coming out to an event or actually getting to know you. Like, you really have to pick up the phone, call people, go be visible, go be where you need to be and talk to who you need to talk to. I mean, I think it's half of the equation that is super important. Like you can't not be out there.
Yeah, I think that it's not part of the equation. Like you use social media and the internet, for research. But when it comes to making art, all that stuff turns off. Because then that's where the real art comes from, is from your soul. And you can't do that if you're too worried about how many likes you're gonna get, right?
Agreed.
That's the truth. You gotta be real. You gotta be authentic.
I agree with that.
And I find that I'd rather work with a person who's complex, and when you see them, sometimes you may not see, a fun, happy person. You see a real person. That's what I want. So I think, social media is all good, but you still gotta be a real, authentic artist in front of camera or not in front of the camera. So that's what I look for. It's like, you can have a presence, but what are you actually saying?
Definitely. I agree.
We definitely found that out really early, because just being from Brampton, it's like there's nothing else going on, and for any event that's going on in Toronto, it's like, okay, so this is an hour drive or whatever it may be. So we weren't in that scene too much, but we were being flown out to let's say just a couple events in LA. We were so used to just being in Brampton, being in our basement, creating these videos, and then people know us, but then once we go out there and try to speak to people, it's like we weren't used to it.
Right.
So we definitely learned how much it meant to actually come out of your comfort, stepping out, because we're pretty shy guys. Not now, it's not as bad now, but like we're pretty,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think you guys are shy at all.
Yo,
no.
trust me, I was like really shy.
Before we're like really timid. You walk in the party, you see us off at the corner talking to ourselves, and that's it.
Right.
Network with any other people, but then once we made the move to downtown, we understood how much networking really meant, and it proves to show that.
But it's where the relationships comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And once you know
So many
how
more
things connect, it's easier to maneuver within that, because understanding relationships is like the key to becoming successful, quote unquote, right? So, and that's super important, man. Like Umbereen said, it's all about relationship building. It's not, don't look at it as a strategy, or let's be like manipulative, or let's be like this person that goes to try to know this person, because people could tell right away. Like right away.
Yeah.
You could feel who's there
so
to
natural.
genuinely to support, and who's there to like take advantage of the
it's
relationship.
hard work.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
That's the other piece.
Yeah.
We can all want to change the world, but who's going to do the work to get there?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's the key when you're building relationships too. Like you want to be around someone from the jump, right? So that when life throws you ups and downs, I'd rather work with that artist through all the ups and downs. So when we do show up on the internet with 40, 50,000 likes, they know that we helped build this, and I didn't just show up at the end and was like, "Yo, X, do a project, I'll see you."
100%. No,
it's
fact.
the same. Like
it's
that
fact.
shit's not real. And same with Drake. Like you got to be there through everything to show an artist. Like it's not just about being at the end and sort of sharing their glory. That shit's fake and it's not real. So I think having their back is key through, hey, what does this look like? What does that look like? This may work, this may not work. And just spend that time going down those roads, like, perfect or
you
not.
come off more authentic because you're real. You're really taking the time to get to know someone, and that's so important. You can't fake that. Like you have
be
to put
with
the work
people's
in.
vulnerabilities, right? Because not a lot of people feel comfortable admitting, what if this goes wrong? But that's always a fear, right? And I think, I call it follow through the thought and say, okay, what if it does go wrong? What are you scared of? Let's try all the different options so you're the most comfortable. And going on that journey with that artist is really key, I think, in any relationship.
No, I agree.
Or any endeavor, right?
Yeah, you have to, man. It's like very important to really get to know a person. It's above just the strategy and trying to be strategic. Like connections are important when they're meaningful. When you have a real relationship with a person, you can really pick up the phone and say, hey, like, yo, how's your day? Like, this is cool. And then you start talking about what you're doing, and if they're interested, sure, they jump on. If not, you're still buddies. At the end of the day, you're like, you keep it moving. But like when you're there to strategically create a relationship, the person will know because you're calling off the jump for a favor or something. Instead of like, how are you doing today? Like, how's your day? What's going on? Like, what are we doing? So those conversation changes, and those relationships are a lot more meaningful. I mean, like I said, I've known Drake for years now. I could still pick up the phone and call him if I need to, but like I'm more interested in how he's doing as a person, what's going on in his life, and
being a human.
Being human, because we're, like she said, we all have fears, we all have concerns, we all like have our doubts, and we all are real people, and we all get scared at times. So as much as we're all out here being the faces of what we're doing, we're still human. We're still flawed. We're still concerned. We still have things that we want to accomplish, and there's still like real stuff that we want to accomplish and be real people, right? So
Trust.
yeah, trust is super important.
Trust is key.
Yeah.
We've seen the difference, like on YouTube, they're making a real deep episode.
Should we talk about dating?
I mean, listen.
I love this.
We can talk about vision boards, alchemists. That's what we talk about.
Yeah, that's honestly when you have those great relationships too. Like, I'm all about having conversation about progression.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's important as human beings. Like you said, as an artist, what the why? The why is important. As people, the why is still important. Like we're doing all these stuff and we're attaining all these goals, but what does it mean in the end? Who are we benefiting as a whole? It's like is society getting a benefit from this? Because we all like owe something to society, right? So
100%.
you know, I think it's important for us to one, build meaningful relationships, and two, give back. Like you know.
Give back is
that's our whole that's our whole theme. Like it wasn't like that from the start, but it's definitely come together over the years. One, making meaningful relationships. Like YouTube is really hard on not hard, but like they're really big on pushing creators to just collab, just meet people and make a video together. And we've seen collabs where people clearly don't know each other and it's just really uncomfortable and weird. And we've seen other times where people actually they're actually great friends, become great friends, and then they make videos and whatever content, and it's like you could see the difference. And then giving back. Especially recently, we've been like so grateful for the opportunities that have come before us and the things we've been able to take advantage of, and like we're ready to, like we realize how much it means to us, and we can only imagine how much it could mean to other people who are still trying to make it to where we are even. And
I think
we
like
want to give back and help out.
I think even like just on that giving back title, like there's so many ways to give back because like. With this platform, like I was talking to you like a long time, trying to get you on GroupChat. I was just like, yo, like I want to get you on like a real episode, a proper episode where we can give back to the people that are watching and talk about stuff like this and talk about like the time that goes into something that you really want to do and the importance of networking and all this, because the people that are watching, this is like our way of giving them back because they take this, they learn it, and then they'd be like, all right, this is what I have to do. So it's fine to come up here and talk about, are you going to delete the pictures of your ex? And, you know what I mean? Cheating and stuff like that, because it's entertaining, but at the same time, it's like, it's so relatable, but it's like I have so many, like I was telling you off camera, I was sitting down with X at a Chinese spot for like 4 hours, and we were just talking about life, and X is also from Brampton, so I was just like kind of asking him questions. He was telling me like the struggles he's went through and whatnot, and I was just saying like, that was like a real conversation, and those are like rarely recorded, and like, I've seen on YouTube, I'm like, yo, like, where's like a chat where I can go and like learn stuff from? You know what I mean? Like 100%. Like life stuff, not like, oh, don't drink this because it's bad for you. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's why I was like taking so long to like get you on chat. That I'm like, hey, we gotta get the like proper chat. You're like, do I know just who to get?
No, and like,
you're dropping gems.
You know, like I said, she like, you know, from just meeting Umbereen and, you know, naturally and organically building a relationship. I got to see who she was as a person and what her dreams and desires are, and then I was like, okay, like this is somebody that meshed well with who I am. Like this is like a real organic chemistry that developed. It's not fake. And like you said, man, like we were talking, I said this is a great platform for you guys to have, because you could talk about the relatable stuff, but you also have to, the generation that's coming up under you guys and are looking up to you guys as the ones now, you guys also have to sit with them and say, listen, here's what I did, here's the do's, the don'ts, and here's like some advice, like, and it's so important to me. I mean, growing up, we didn't have much of that. We didn't have much to look to. I mean, there's Cardinal Official in the entertainment scene, Bomb. And then, you know, you had the Maximus, you had the Wayne Warners for events. Those guys were doing it, but still, nobody was giving us the dialogue. Nobody was telling us, like, yo, do this, don't do that. Like, you know, take these routes, build real relationships, like go out there and really work, you know? Like, nobody was having that dialogue. It was just more of like, we're just taking little bits from what we see and we just ran with it. But
we're blessed with the opportunity to have something like this where, like, because back then there's no outlet to really,
you know, there's master teachers,
but like where would cardinal officials sit down and give back to the youth and like give them speeches? Of course, there's events and whatever, but now like we can reach people in Africa and give them advice.
There are their pros and their cons because like you see like a video, like a perfect example is us being on More Life, right? So if someone hears that and they're like, yo, these guys are on More Life, but it's just like, yeah, we're on More Life, but it's what we did. They think it's easy, and it's just like, no, it's what we did to get to that level. Yeah. They see your work, and it's just like, oh, it probably took like a week or whatever. That's why I asked them, like, how long did that take? So they know it's like, it didn't happen in a day overnight.
It's not a thing, it's who you are. That's what I tell people. I'm like, my art is who I am. Right? And I think you guys are doing a great job. You know, you have an amazing platform, and same with you. And I think, like, you know, I mean, for what I'm trying to do is show people like us that contemporary art is also meant for us, right? All it is an idea. It was a rebellion against fine art. It was a dude named Marcel Duchamp being like, look, you know, not everybody can afford portraiture. That this urinal is art, and who are you to tell me it's not? And so that's basically what contemporary art is. And so I sort of want to, you know, my mission, and Jason knows this, is sort of break down those barriers to be like, we too deserve a seat at the table and create contemporary art that can change the world. And we did that. And so that's why I go after, you know, hip hop especially, because, you know, sometimes we've been seen as quote unquote urban, you know, and just about the bling and all these things. And I'm like, well, that comes from not having it. That's why there's a need to sort of say, like, this is the rags to riches, like we can do it too. Now, you know, what else can we say? And I totally get that part of that is part of the story. How do we tell that story in a different way? And so I think like there's so much depth to be explored, and really, you know, I was lucky enough that X was interested and Drake is interested, and they opened up this whole new genre to show hopefully more and more and more people that you too can be part of contemporary visual art. You don't have to just know how to do fine art paintings or like be a programmer and make a video. You know, all it is you got to have the mind, and that means keeping it real and being willing to tell a story.
And even touch on that, like we're in a time where the definition of what's successful or what success is subjective. Like you could pretty much be the greatest nail technician. You could be anything, you know, like, and that could be success to you. Like, so you're not defined by anything anymore. So it's great to see the contemporary art world like getting this presence, because that's also a real thing. Like, you know, you go to these art shows and it expands your mind, and you're looking at stuff in different ways, and you know, it creates a new dialogue and a new interaction for you. You know, like, and what we do too is like we're able to bring people of common interest to one place. We could say, you like hip hop, you like music, you come to one place and gather and speak amongst yourself. That wasn't like you know, when I was doing events, like, you know, my mom is just like, what are you doing? You know, like, go to school, get that done. You know, that was more important. Like, we were seeing the blue collar jobs no longer being the definition of success. Now we have the creative class that are looking at things differently, opening. And you guys are part of the creative class. Who would have thought like YouTube would have been a platform for a new economy and a new like career stream? So it's a beautiful thing, and it comes down to anything you want to do, it comes with hard work. You know, if you're not focused and you're not dedicated, you're only going to get what you put in. So if you put in 50%, you're only going to get 50% back. You know, like, if you're focused and you're committed, you want to make stuff happen, you got to go out there and hit the pavement. Like, you really do. Like
I feel like it's the simple things that go such a long way, but no one really takes to it.
But that's why there's winners, because the winners aren't necessarily the smartest. They're just the ones that are more ambitious and hungry. They're the ones that get up every day and say, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to have this goal and I'm going to achieve it. Like, I write my goals on my mirror, my bathroom mirror. So when I wake up, I'm faced with myself and those goals. And I'm like, you're not achieving this. So how could you get to it faster? How could you like make those meaningful relationships? Who do you got to see? Where do you got to be? And like, you got to think like that, because it's a full-time job. Like, you know, it's
I'm laughing because me too. And my girls, when they put their makeup on, my goals are so big. They're like, here now. They're like, can you just get another mirror? I was like, no, man. I gotta see it through my goals.
100%. You have to. It has to be taken that seriously, because you guys are where you are, not by luck or chance. Yes, there's a bit of magic in this, but the reality of it, you guys been putting in work every single day. Like you committed to a timeline and you achieved it, and you kept doing it, and people notice and people start seeing, and they're like, "Oh, these guys are good. Let's make those connections for them, even if we don't know them, right?"
Yeah.
So,
and you believed in yourself, right? In our cultures, that's hard.
Yeah.
Especially in the arts.
Yeah. There's a lot of self-doubt too. Don't get it twisted. Like you're gonna have moments where you doubt yourself, where you think, is this right for me? Like your parents are probably from a different era where they're like, this is how like life should look. And you're like, nah, like I'm here having fun, I'm here doing what I gotta do, like I'm here being creative, and that's the reality of it, like just whatever feels natural and honest and passionate to you, do it, as long as it's not malicious, as long as you're not hurting people along the way, and you're giving back, because society needs it, man. We need more social entrepreneurs. Can you say that? Like,
sure.
Yeah, I guess you can say
socialist.
That. Socialist. Well, I don't know, socialist because it's too extreme, but
well, I was watching Chef's Table. Love that
Great show.
Love that show.
Great show.
And one of the chefs said, one of my ingredients on every plate is emotion. And I'll never forget that. And I was like, that's why we get along so well too, because you do events, but you're looking for something real and emotional to bring to that. And I produce art, but it has to be real. And I think as long as that's your like code and that's the way you govern yourself, then you're gonna be great in life. Like it has to be real, and you have to want people to feel, and you have to care enough to want to do that. Otherwise, people could sniff a rat. Things get hot and then things fall off. But the people who are there, they actually give a shit. Yeah, exactly. And it matters. What are you going to do with this platform? It's like where we started at the beginning of the conversation. I really believe with power comes responsibility. You have this huge platform. What are you going to do with it to inspire? Like for me, I love making artworks that inspire. I want you to feel something, to reflect. And the way you change your behavior is by reflecting. Simple. We need it now more than ever.
I agree.
In this day, in this world.
And everything you do should have that aspect. You should have some, what am I doing to give back to people? Like, we throw events, but it's not just about the events. It's about creating a place where people could celebrate their moments or like escape from like what may be going on into their lives. Like you have to give more. It has to be more than just let me take money from you and then that's it. Like you got to give people an experience. You got to give them something to talk about. You got to give them something to want to come to. Like, the beauty about what we do is that we give people something to look forward to. Every day, like life is so monotonous for the most part of it. It could be really boring, so it's important to have the creatives in the society saying, hey, here's a different view on life. Here's something to look forward to. Yes, we know that it's not all great, but we're all working collectively together to make it get there. You know, so, and as long as you have that goal in mind, everything you do will be like authentic, real, and for the most part be successful,
Yeah, and even if it's just about raising consciousness, that's great. Like you guys are really good at connecting, right? Connecting people to each other. Yeah. That is great because we're losing human connection, right? Yeah, so I feel like if I'm going to make an artwork where people connect to, that makes them want to connect not only to the piece but to the person beside them, that's a success. And you guys are a huge cultural conduit for that. You're making connections here, and then you're going to connect with the public. Then that's enough. Even it's just raising consciousness. Why am I here? What am I doing? How am I treating people? We're just planting
seeds. Just dropping gems on you guys.
I'm here the whole time. I've been agreeing the whole time. But
it's all about feeling. You gotta feel it.
And we gotta do more. EQ. I mean, we gotta do more for the younger generation. I think we're all in a great place in the city. We've from me and Umbereen, we've seen when this era wasn't as cooperative, when it wasn't so inclusive, now it's changed, and we're leading the charge and saying, hey, let's connect with people we think make sense, because why not? Why are we not doing this? Why am I not leveraging my network and my access to somebody I think is next, or somebody I believe can be next?
Yes,
we have to do that.
People get so caught up in that deal of no, it's mine right now, and I'm not sure.
For what? For what? You don't gain nothing from being that.
Two heads are better than one.
100%.
Always. But I think what you touched on is really important, is that we had to make it.
Yeah.
And now we're opening ourselves up.
Yes.
And it takes hard work to get there. Like, I've been producing exhibitions for 10 years within the contemporary art world, and now that I have that sort of leeway and respect, I'm going after people. So that's sort of the consciousness that we need to have. You guys, I'm sure it took you a while to get here, and while you're here, you're not losing that consciousness. That's another problem, right? When people get to the top, then what happens? Right? We
They get lost in excitement.
They forget.
They
They forget about a lot, and
I feel like a lot of people forget about why they do it once they reach a certain amount of success.
Of course.
Like a lot of people, like I'm just using YouTube as an example. They work really hard for a long time, and then they blow up, and then they're doing videos that they know they're only doing for financial gain.
Right.
They're only doing, okay, this is gonna get a lot of views, let me do it. But like when we're doing a video, it's like, why? Why is this? Even when I edit a vlog, like it just the smallest things. Why is this here? Like what's the point of this being here? It has no purpose and it's gone.
that's why when she said why, I was just like,
The thing is like why? Like what's the purpose?
it's
That's
like,
key.
you really have
That's
to
the
ask
key.
those questions.
some people won't answer those questions because they know it's the wrong reason.
Right.
So they'll just not answer it for themselves and just do it anyways. And it's just like they know they're not. I don't know if they're sleeping good at night. They may be sleeping comfy, but like you know what I mean. They're not sleeping like good because it's bothering themselves. It's eating at themselves. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing too. You have to be authentic to yourself. You know, if you're cheating yourself, if you're cheating your responsibilities, you'll know. Like you'll know.
That's the worst part.
You'll know. Like
You'll know.
nobody else but you. Like you'll know, and you'll feel it. Like know.
Oh man, yeah. Trust me. Especially when, let's say we're working on something, and I take a shortcut. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Like I know, I was like, let me go fix it. Let me do it properly.
You also won't have a legacy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna leave,
Gems.
There's a reason why people are obsessed with Pharrell Williams. He's done the work for years and years and years and years, and he would never compromise on himself as an artist and his practice. The reason why Drake has such a long-term career, he is like invested in himself as an artist and how he's going to influence others and bring emotional music that moves people. That's a practice. That's why art is called "What's your practice?" You got to do it. Karate, martial arts. What's your practice? So if you lose that, people are going to forget about you because you're not going to have that resonance and that soul.
And Drake has been dropping gems on everybody. Know yourself is the most important thing. I feel like the more you know yourself, the easier it is for you to maneuver through life, because you could be like, I don't like this isn't authentic, this isn't real, this is who I am. And the more you start to understand who you are, the more real you could become, and like people will gravitate towards your honesty and your truth, because never be shy to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Don't fear that. It's nobody knows what we're doing. Like we all are just pretty much going with the motion of it, and we don't all have the answers. Like I can't say, like what I define as successful isn't what you should think is success. Like you have your own truth and what you think is successful. Like so the more you know yourself, the more honest you are with people around you, the easier it is for you to build meaningful relationships, build those connections, and build your network. And, like everybody says, your network is your net worth. But you got to be honest with yourself. And that's super important, man.
Yo, honestly, I don't even know what to call this episode. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm going to be honest. I don't even know what to call this episode, but we are running out of time.
Maybe more or less life lessons.
You know what I mean? But definitely, I already know the comments are going to be telling me to get you guys back on the show, so expect that call. Thank you guys for coming on the show. If you guys want to follow them, everything's in the description below. Any ending quotes you guys got? You guys dropping gems all the time?
I'm going to use first.
Well, I would say Jason and I have a favorite book called The Alchemist.
Great book.
And our favorite quote is, when you want something, the universe conspires to make it happen for you.
Can you say it one more time?
When you want something, the universe conspires to make it happen for you. So that's by Paulo Coelho from The Alchemist, one of the most influential books for us manifestors. You guys are manifestors. I think that's what people need to learn. You can be a manifestor. I wish they taught that in school.
They have to.
You really have to close your eyes, create a vision for yourself, believe it, ask for it, and you will receive it, no matter how big your dream is. That's what I would leave. And then
I'll end on that. It's like that's a perfect segue. One of my favorite quotes has always been, dream big because small dreams don't have the same effect. And you know, your dreams have to be
100%.
ludicrous. It has to be unattainable.
Yeah.
Like my next goals are to throw a concert on Mars. Like, you know, like it's outlandish.
Who do I know
it's
in
crazy.
Mars?
I know, exactly.
I call NASA.
No, but that's my goal. Like, but along the way, I'm gonna do bigger things. So.
Yeah.
You gotta dream big, because small dreams don't have the same effect, man.
It's true.
That's it.
Jermaine, I need a quote, man.
Big up yourself.
More like.
Wow. Honestly, I don't even have a quote. You guys are great people, man. You guys are great people.
We
That's
tried,
great.
man.
But actually, really quick. Just thinking about like dreaming big and being from Brampton, it was just like we felt like alienated out there, and we often say it a lot. And it was just like one of our things was like, all right, like obviously Drake was like the biggest from Toronto, so we're like, yo, we got to work with Drake some way somehow. So we always said like, yo, a skit with Drake. That's what we wanted. And then just like the other day when we ended up on More Life and we had a skit on his work, I was just like, yo, like this is something that we believed in and something that we're like, yo, we got to work towards it, and without like bothering the man, just like putting out work and just saying like, yo, if he enjoys it, like this is gonna come around like the whole universe talking. It happened, so I just want to tell you guys,
And at one
man,
point that was impossible.
Yeah.
At one point it was like never, like this is never gonna happen. So.
But now you guys are looking at it and be like, man, I could get Barack Obama to
Yeah.
you know, like now you're looking at it like
possible.
it's all reality now. It's all real.
Exactly, man. So just again, want to send that message out to you guys. Send some vibes and gems through the cameras right now, and just tell you guys whatever you guys are doing, man. Believe in it and go for it, and it's believe in yourself. I think that's the main key here, right? Believe in yourself. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.